Hey everybody, it's Vanessa. Welcome to episode number 154 of WIP Wednesday, which is my weekly live show that I do here Wednesday afternoons. Remember that the time changed back, at least for us. So if your time didn't change, you may be catching us at a different time. So right now we are live at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm so excited. I can actually see the chat this week. It's working fine. So if you can see me and hear me, just let me know in the chat box where you're tuning in from. And I see we got Caroline tuning in from Arizona. Hey, we got Ann from San Diego, California, Cheryl in the house from Fort Collins, Colorado, Diana from Massachusetts. Hi, Janelle, tuning in from Central Illinois. Yes, Windless Original says 154. Can you believe it? 154 live episodes here for WIP Wednesdays. All right. Hi, Deborah, tuning in from Port St. Lucie in Florida. And I'm coming to y'all from my home crafting studio here in North Central Florida. All right. Who else is on? Dolores from Alabama. Hi, Dolores. Today, y'all, in case you saw the title of today's episode, we are talking about yet another HTVRONT heat press. Every time I do one of these live review videos on one of their heat presses, we get a lot of questions asking me about the benefits of one over the other. And so this one is actually a hybrid of two other of their heat presses that I have talked about on my live shows. So I'm excited to share with you some of the similarities and differences between this one and some of the others. Now, if you are in the market with the holidays coming up or looking for a good Black Friday sale, they are running a great sale right now, and I did put all the information, including my affiliate link, as well as the coupon code for you to use to get an additional $50 off of this one. So if you've kind of been gathering information and research on the different heat presses and you're, trying to sort out which one you want for your crafts, definitely check it out, but all the links are below. So not just my affiliate link for this model of the HTVRONT heat presses, but also the manual one and the other automatic one, all that, and even the little mini heat presses. I put all the links so you can click, even if you haven't started doing research, you can click on all those links and kind of check them out, compare the specs and things like that, okay? So you can make the best choice for you. For me, we'll talk about it, because once I start chatting about this one, I will give you some of my feedback based on my experience, because I did have an opportunity to use this one already for a bunch of t-shirts that we had to make for a kids basketball camp. Okay, let's see what else we got here in the chat. Willie Mae tuning in from Bermuda. Awesome, welcome. Kathy from Ohio, and hi Zena. She says, yep, what? Another heat press. Can you believe it? I can. They come in so handy, not just if you sew or quilt or craft, but if you dabble in a lot of different types of crafts, from heat transfer vinyl, DTF transfers and things like that, it really just helps. Bag making, fusible interfacings, all that kind of stuff. All right, Zena says, I purchased the Auto Heat Press and I love it. Awesome. It's a good one. You're going to see some of the differences on this one. And I will say flat out, let's go ahead and actually give them the over-the-shoulder camera shot. This one, I haven't checked the exact specs on the weight, but I'm going to say this one weighs more than the other three. Just on me moving it around, toting it around from room to get it back on here today. This one is heavier than the others, than the automatic heat press, as well as the manual heat press. The manual heat press is the lightest one. And again, I have links to where you can get more information on each of those. And if you're just wanting to find maybe my review videos where I use it, I show you how we use it to press fabric, to fuse interfacing, to try out heat transfer vinyl, DTF, because I do a little sample of each different type of thing, so that depending on the type of crafts that you do, you can see how it acts, right? How it works for the different types of projects. Now, this one is called the HTVRONT. It's called like the Auto 2, the Auto Heat Press 2 digit or something like that. Just, it has the number 2. So it's basically the automatic heat press, but version 2. The main difference, okay, between this one and the other automatic heat press is that this one doesn't do automatic pressure. You can actually adjust it yourself. So if you recall way back when I did the review on the automatic one, maybe I mentioned it, on some of the projects that we had to do, like jerseys, depending on the transfer, sometimes we had to apply more pressure. And because it's an automatic heat press, it didn't allow me to like increase the pressure. I had to kind of rig it up and like stick a pillow underneath it to basically make the layers a little bit loftier and thicker, so that when the platen came down onto it, there was more bulk in there, if that makes sense, so that it could apply more pressure because it was chunkier. Does that make sense? So that worked. it's kind of a workaround. And so now HTVRONT came out with an automatic heat press, all the same kind of automatic features, which is really good. Those of you that maybe maybe you have to do a bunch of projects or you sell stuff on the side. If you don't want to be like clamping down the manual handle for every single time, the automatic ones are going to be your best go-to type of heat press, because this instead has a drawer, right? So you just pull the drawer out, you drape your project over, and apologies for the camera shot. This thing is big. It just doesn't fit with the lens that I'm using. But you pull out, the workspace here is 15 inches by 15 inches. You drape your project, and instead of having to clamp down the heat element, right, onto it, you just slide this in, and it will automatically lower. So that's the auto part of both the auto heat press, the first version, and the auto heat press 2-digit, this one, okay? Now, I'll talk a little bit about the, well, let's get started with the buttons. Let me grab my pointer tool here. So it has a power button. When you plug it in, it beeps, and then if it's off, but it's connected to power, this light will blink on. And all the HTVRONT machines are like that. All the presses, even the little mini heat presses that I have, if they're plugged up to electricity, you will see the power symbol blinking like that. And so check this screen out. Look at the digital screen. You can pop it up or leave it flat down depending on what angle you need to see the numbers. So it has a little sticker here that I was about to peel off, and then I decided, well, let me leave it until after today's video. It basically tells you what each one of these buttons are, because if you take this off, you don't have the words. You kind of just have to memorize it. Obviously, plus or minus, we know. One means up, one means down. The other one, the thermometer here, you know that that's the temperature, right? The clock here on the left is the one for time. Because it's automatic, you can set the time. So say you're working on 50 projects that all have the same type of transfer, and they all need to be 315 degrees for 15 seconds. You're going to set this to 315, and the time you set to 15 seconds. And that way, you could walk away. You could be prepping the next one, fixing the next t-shirt, grabbing the next transfer, and you're not going to run the chance of messing up your project, melting the fabric, the bag, whatever it is, because after the 15 seconds count down, it will lift up the heating element and release it. So you could be in the next room. As long as it was set to the 15 seconds, it's going to release. When you come back, it's already going to be off. Okay? Not off, turned off, but off of your project. Okay. So power button, then we have time for the amount of time, temperature, we have the mode that you're going to put the machine in if you want to, the pressure. This one looks like a little clock, but it's more like a gauge. So pounds per square inch is what we're going to do here, and this is what allows us to apply more pressure onto the project versus the automatic one that just automatically sets its own amount of pressure. So really on that one, if you're working on a project that requires a lot more pressure than the machine gives you, there's no gauge for you to know exactly how much. It would be like after you were done, you check it and you're like, it didn't transfer over. Then you're probably like, I need a little bit more pressure. And that's what happened to me when I did a couple projects that we were doing for one of our community service projects on it. This one allows you to adjust that pressure. So you can apply more pressure or less with this model, okay? Then over here we have increase and decrease, like I said, for the plus or minuses. And then these buttons say custom, and auto, and then the R is your start button, okay? So, Zena says, I pressed my pants yesterday instead of pulling out my iron, and I bet you got it done quicker, right? The 15-inch by 15-inch workspace here, it's like when you have it, you're kind of like, well, I can just use an iron. But if we were to take the base of an iron, let me grab my iron here, and put this on here, let me just scoot it back. I think it's important to note how many iron sole plates this thing can actually cover. So, and this is not like a baby iron, right? This is a regular full-size iron. So that's one. Put my finger here and scoot it over. This is 2. This is 3, and there's still a couple inches here, like about 1.5 inches left. So 3 this way, and then you still have a whole chunk here. So you can just imagine the amount of time that it would save you by pressing it on here, okay? Again, not all the projects are going to be doable for you to do on a heat press, but if you have certain spots or a big chunk of something, or you're fusing interfacing for your bag linings and things like that, 15 by 15 is a good size, okay? All right, Zena says, yes, I loved it. That's awesome. She pressed her pants instead of pulling out her iron. I love that. Okay, so the customization of the pressure here before we turn it on goes from 20 to 80 kg. So that's about 50 pounds to 170 pounds of pressure that you can change. And I've noticed if you purchase some like commercial transfers and things like that, they will tell you the temperature, how long to press it for, and I see them including the amount of pressure. So sometimes you'll see it say medium to firm pressure, medium to high pressure, but some of them will say 60 to 80 psi. So you know that on here you'll be able to actually adjust it to the right amount of pressure that the project calls for, okay? Yes, Winless Original says that's almost a full fat quarter. Exactly right. So if you are somebody who makes a lot of bags and pouches and you have yardage of fabric, you can cut them down, say even to fat quarters, especially for smaller pouches. If you just put a chunk, fat quarter size of cotton woven fusible interfacing and want to fuse it to all your fabric ahead of time and then go in and cut your pieces out, oh my goodness, that will save you a ton of time. For those of you that are selling at like holiday craft shows or you're making a ton of things for gifts, that's a great way to save time as well. Okay. Okay, so let's start. Now, a couple of notes that they sent me on here that I wanted to mention is that this one, compared to the regular auto heat press, also is designed for thicker projects. It says 4.5 centimeters, so we'd have to translate that into the imperial to see exactly what. But it is for thicker projects. And then it just mentions a flexible ergonomic screen. The inside angle adjustable screen is built to soothe the discomfort for your daily crafting. So if you're seated somewhere else and you want to make sure that you're seeing what's going on, this is cool that it adjusts. Flat for storage if you want it to or whatever. Okay, so this thing, whoop, let me pull it forward so it's in the shot. This thing is already heating up, you can see. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with, let's do fabric and cotton woven fusible interfacing. Now I pulled out several different interfacings that are common for us to use in our little crafty sewing kind of pouchy bag projects or whatever. So we're going to try that. So let's go, and I'm just going to set it, I think so I'm just going to hit temperature, and then you see it's blinking 330. I'm going to go up to 360. I think when I've measured before the bottom of that iron, when I use it on the cotton setting, it's somewhere like 375, 360 to 375. So let's do that. After I increased it to the temperature that I wanted, you just let it go and you heard it beep. That means, okay, it locked in that temperature. See, when I hit temp again, it blinks 360. If I don't do anything, it beeps once and locks it in. So now the machine knows, okay, I got to heat up all the way till I get to 360 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? And you can change it to Celsius if you're somewhere else, okay? Oh, Donnie Girl says, I tried ordering, FYI, they don't deliver to Hawaii. Thank you for the heads up. I'm sorry about that. I had no idea. Okay. Okay. So that's that. My pressure, I have it set to 130 pounds. Let's bring it down some. I don't think like I need that much. So I press the pressure button, pressure blinks, and then you basically have a couple seconds to adjust it. So the pressure is blinking. Let's do 90 pounds, okay? And then the time is over here. So to adjust that, all you're gonna do is hit the clock, and then the time blinks, and you go up. If you press and hold it, the increments go up and down by 5-second increments. So I don't feel like I need that much. Let's just keep it at 10 seconds, okay? So now, I don't do anything. I'm letting it go. And you see that it went back. It has my 10-second memory, which is the time that I want it to press down onto my project. I have it set to 90 pounds of pressure. And then the temperature, we're waiting for it to get to 360. And you can see how high it is already. I mean, a couple minutes. I think I mentioned that when I first did a review on the auto heat press, it took right under 4 minutes to heat up, which is wild because we have a press that is like almost 3 times the cost, like a commercial press. Same size, 15 by 15 inch. It's a manual one, and we paid like 3 times as much as any of these the automatic ones cost. And that thing takes a solid, what would you say, like 12 minutes to come up to temperature, to 360, somewhere like that. Like between 10 and 15 minutes to come up to temperature. So when we have to crank out a quick t-shirt, or we're missing a certain size, or a kid needs a different size t-shirt or jersey or something, you got to think ahead because you can't just flick it on, go grab the shirt and the transfer and do it. You got to wait. So once I tried that first on the first HTVRONT Auto Heat Press, I was super happy. You can see We're already cranking up to 270. I mean, it heats up so fast. Not to mention the color, super cute, matches my walls, right? One of my favorite colors, and I did see on the HTVRONT site that they have it in 3 colors. It's this kind of like light minty bluish color. There's a solid white, and there was a purple. It was so cute. Okay. All right. So we're waiting for that to come up to temperature, and we're going to do cotton fabric with a chunk of cotton woven fusible interfacing to the back. This is what I was saying earlier, that if you had like a fat quarter-size piece of fabric and you cut the matching interfacing, you could really crank through these. Now, we mentioned this, I think somebody mentioned this on one of the last lives when we were talking about the other heat press, that they use it for their t-shirt quilts. So you know when you cut out, say, the front or the back of the t-shirt, whatever you're trying to preserve into the quilt, you interface it to get rid of the stretch, right? Because by the time you go to put it all together, you don't want the fabric stretching here and there. And so they said interfacing it on the heat press was a breeze because usually you're cutting those blocks out to 10 inches or 12.5 inches or something. And because we have a 15-inch by 15-inch workspace on here, you can assembly line style. All your cut t-shirts, the matching square of interfacing, boom, press it and go, right? Okay, we're almost up to temp, and I don't think that it's necessary. I don't think 360 for this, but we'll try it anyways. So let me see how I put this on the cutting mat so that I can more easily slide it back and forth for the camera shot. So this first thing, make sure that it is scratchy side up, and I'm just making sure because I don't want it to fuse to my mat here. This comes with it. It came, I think, with one of these Teflon sheets, and I'm going to put this one on top. We're going to put a piece of fabric here. It doesn't match exactly, no big deal. This is just a demo, and this is a 10-inch by 10-inch square just to give y'all an idea of scale, okay? So I basically have about 2.5 inches here, 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 and here. Okay. Let me double check. It is scratchy side up. Okay. So I'm going to, this is what you do. You put it on here. You heard it beep. It's already up to 360. So now I just push it in, okay? And I want y'all to see the screen here. I'm going to press the R, which is the green button telling me to go. And see, I don't have to manually bring the whole thing down. It just squished itself down. When it went all the way down, the timer started counting down. 3, 2, 1. And now it releases itself. And I didn't even put the Teflon sheet on, but we'll pretend. And I'm going to pull this out and peel this up. Ta-da! Okay, look at that. I'm trying to pick up at the edges because usually, you know, sometimes if there's an uneven amount of pressure, like it'll press in the middle, maybe some spots, but you can see that every little bit of the edge, and I hope that I'm showing up on camera like that because I can't really see. There we go. It's all completely fused in 10 seconds. And to be honest, if it's just cotton woven fusible interfacing, I don't even think 10 seconds. I think you could probably get away with 4 or 5. Okay? Yes, Windless Original says most quilt blocks will fit on these auto presses. Amazing. Exactly. And that's another thing. Even if it's not a t-shirt quilt block, if you make your own quilt blocks, you know you want to give them that last final press. Whether you press seams open or you press them to the side, you kind of want everything to be nice, crisp, and flat. This would be awesome. So just run each one through it, give it one extra little bit of press of, you know, of heat and squish down, if you will, and then put it in your stack ready to piece your quilts, okay? So, again, the links to this heat press and all the other ones that I've done reviews on are in the description box below, as well as a coupon code to get $50 off. Okay, so that was cotton woven fusible interfacing. Let's go in with a light fusible batting. So remember that this one is made to accommodate thicker projects. This is not quite 4.5 centimeters high, but it is a loftier interfacing here. So we're going to go ahead and try it. Let me cut this down just so that it matches about the size of my fabric. These are just little scraps that I pulled for this demo. So this should work good. And this, now again, scratchy side facing up because this is the fusible side. And you would put obviously the wrong side of your fabric on top of it. Just make sure that you don't have any exposed fusible. Even if you do, having one of these sheets, you can even use parchment paper. Just put it on top as a buffer to protect your heating element. Because if you get any type of goo or gunk or interfacing or vinyl or anything melted to the top here, it's going to be really tricky for you to be like turning your head under there, trying to clean it off or do whatever. Okay, so make sure that you protect your heat press here. So we're going to put that in. I'm going to pull this forward some. And let's go ahead and try. Let's change the time real quick to just 5 seconds. And, oh, that's right. They're 5-second increments. So there. I'm going to set it to 5. I don't touch it. It beeps. And now it's ready to go. So let's go for it. Press the button. And this is what I'm saying. You could walk away or grab the next thing. And it really makes for efficient work without you having to manually strain and pull down the platen thing on top of your project for pressure. Okay. Let's see how that did. Okay. Not bad. Again, I'm picking up at the edges because that's usually where you'll see that it'll be like a little bit not stuck. Look at that. Light fusible batting, 5 seconds. And this is loftier and has more adhesive than the cotton woven fusible stuff. So for sure, you could get away with 5 seconds on the other one, okay? You could probably even lower the temperature. 360 is kind of high, but easy peasy. So this is not just for Cricut crafts and t-shirts and all this kind of stuff. For fusing your interfacing for garments, necklines, button plackets, like all these different things that we put interfacings on and we want to fuse it and get it flat and crisp, this can absolutely work for that too. So we've done cotton woven fusible interfacing, light fusible batting, done. Let's try one of the trickier interfacings to fuse. And I can't remember if I've done this one yet on any of the other heat presses, so I thought let's try it here. This is DuraFuse. I believe the Pellon equivalent of this would be like Craft Fuse. This is a crisp, non-woven fusible interfacing. It's like paper, okay? And one side is shiny and the other side is matte. The shiny side is the adhesive side. So I'm going to, again, cut this down so it matches the fabric chunk. And this interfacing, I would say, several students have complained about not being able to fuse it. And over the years, we discovered what it is. If you don't have a heavy enough or hot enough iron, it's really tricky to get it to press on, okay, with just a dry iron. Sometimes you have to mist it, but you really, when we do it with an iron, if we're making like a wallet or something like that, that we want to have crisp, or the pattern calls for something crisp to be fused like this to the fabric, we have to like apply downward pressure. So it helps to have a heavier iron. So in this case, I'm curious to see what 90 pounds of pressure is going to do to this. If it doesn't stick at 90, we can increase it, right? Because this model of the HTVRONT Auto 2 heat press allows us to work that range between 50 pounds to 170 pounds of pressure. So I'm curious to see how this one's gonna do. Let's try it. So shiny side facing up. I'm gonna put this guy on here and let's try it at 90 pounds of pressure and see. If it fuses, this would be worth it just for that. If you use a lot of DuraFuse in your projects. We're going to keep it at the 5 seconds, the same. Let's try it. Look at that. No manual labor. Okay, so now we're going to open this up, pull this out, and it's still kind of hot. Give it a second. Let's see what we got. Oh, look at this. No way. No way. Okay, this is totally worth it. Now, if you have DuraFuse in your stash, because it's a crisp non-woven, and I have one here because, you know, after I finish using it, I fold it up and put it in my little bin here. You know that this stuff creases like crazy because it's like papery, okay? Look at the creases on here. I can tell you just by looking at this that with that pressure, and that was just 90 pounds of pressure, there are no creases. So when you put it down on your project, even if it has some creases, just make sure that it's laid out nice and smooth, that you're not putting it on the fabric folded, like, you know, twisted up or creased or anything. Lay it as flat as you can, and I can tell you that the amount of pressure this is gonna put on it, it's gonna smooth the whole thing out, because look at this. Y'all, if you've worked with DuraFuse, you know what I'm talking about. We sit there with the iron like, trying to get that thing to make it stick. Look at that. Obsessed. Yeah, this is totally worth it for that. So if you work with maybe some other types of interfacings that are crisp and you know, and non-woven, okay? So sometimes we think, well, it's a polyester interfacing, it might melt it. Well, the light fusible batting you just saw me fuse to it is polyester, didn't melt it. This DuraFuse is also non-woven. It's not made of cotton. Didn't melt it, right? Amazing. Zena says, I have to experiment on my vinyl each time because I have unfortunately changed the texture of it when I let it press for too long. Yeah, that can happen. And so that's why we always want to go, whatever the project is or the material that you're using, make sure that you're checking the manufacturer's instructions for the amount of time and pressure. Okay, and then kind of experiment a little bit on your own, because sometimes if your machine runs hotter than what they expect you to be using, you know, that can affect a little bit. You can oftentimes cut a few seconds off the time or things like that. So you got to be careful. But this right here, for DuraFuse? Come on. That's wild. And I'm trying to like peel it back off of there and still, yeah, that's good. Good and stuck. So those of you that make the Diva wallet and you're in my video courses, you know we use DuraFuse. If you have a heat press, make sure to use it for that. Okay. Make sure I'm not missing anything here in the chat. Okay, great. For those of you that are on Facebook, apologies because I can only see the YouTube chat for some reason on here. At least I got the chat this time. That's okay. Okay, let's see. What's the next thing? So we did cotton woven fusible interfacing, fused like a charm. We did a light fusible batting, that's a polyester batting. 5 seconds, it fused. The DuraFuse, which is crisp non-woven fusible interfacing, which the Pellon equivalent would be craft fuse, I'm pretty sure. Fused at 360 for 5 seconds at 90 pounds of pressure like nothing. Gladys, she says, wonder how it would work with Decoville. See, I'm not familiar with Decoville, but if Decoville is like DuraFuse, then you already know. It's going to be easy peasy, okay? Now, let's get into the other types of crafts. So first I'm going to do, since we're at 360, I have a transfer here that I need to make. We have a volleyball game tonight. Send out a little athletic prayer for us. We're in the semifinals. If we win today, we play tomorrow for the championship. So proud of my girls. They've been putting in the work and they are absolutely ready. And I'm going to make myself another shirt. So I have a black t-shirt here. I am lining up the center where the tag is. And you got to be careful because sometimes the tag is not always sewn in the center, you know. So I'm watching here with the shoulder seams. And apologies that it's a black t-shirt, but you can't really tell where it is. But, you know, it's a t-shirt. The bulk of the neckline, I'm going to try to get it off the top edge so that it doesn't interfere. But I will say, I've done t-shirts like this that we did for a basketball skills camp that we host, and the kids all get free t-shirts, so I make them all with the transfers on there. I left the bit of the crew neckline further down on one of them to try it out on this machine with the auto press. I can't remember what the pressure was that I set it to, but I think it was in the like 130 or something. And I pressed it down, and when I tell you it applied so much pressure that additional bulk up top didn't affect the transfer of the design. I was so impressed, which means it really squished everything down enough to where the heat still got on here. Because if you've heard me talk about heat presses before, you know, usually if you have a V-neck or something like that, you want it to be off of the bed that you're going to be pressing, because this usually you want it to be one flat layer. Anything that's uneven will not allow the heat to fully reach. So I just did that on one of the little kids ones just to see, and it worked. So I was like, wow, it didn't even affect, which is good. This is a shirt for me, so this is fine. I'm just measuring on the side, kind of, you know, eyeballing it, making sure that I have this pretty centered here. And this is just a commercial transfer. It's a screen print transfer. I'm going to flip it on here. I'm going to fold it in half to find the true center of this thing. Okay. And I'm just going to put it a couple inches down from the center of the neckline. See my side seams there, my shoulder seam. That's pretty good. Okay, now this transfer calls for 365. Okay, so I'm going to slide it under so we can pull this up and you can see me adjust it so you can see how quick and easy. If you're changing from different projects and different materials, this is push and go, okay? So we go to temp and we go up, 365, that's set. And then for time, it says 4 to 6 seconds, and I've already set mine to 5 seconds, so we gonna leave it there. Okay, for the pressure, this transfer specifically tells me medium to firm pressure, and it calls for 60 to 80 pounds per square inch. So let's go to 70, because that's in between 60 and 80. We go to pressure, you go down. And you can see that the pressure goes up by 20 pounds, okay? So between 60 and 80 is 70, and that's where it's at. That's it. Now I'm gonna go here. Make sure that I had this pretty centered. This t-shirt doesn't have side seams, so that was a little tricky, but I think it's okay. All right, so press the R. It's going to press down. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, push it forward. Yep, I see someone is saying I will turn backwards and press. So some people do that. Let me just pull this up. La, da, da. There we go. Not bad. Now you can always put your, and now you got into the habit of doing this from the DTF transfers, because remember the DTF, we do a cold peel, we pull it back, and then you put it on with a cover sheet. So sometimes I do this, usually on a cotton t-shirt. If I want it to, and I'm just gonna press it for another 5 seconds with that on top, just to kind of smooth things out, because sometimes when I feel on cotton shirts, these transfers sometimes feel a little bit like raised. I don't want them to start picking off, you know, and bubbling up. So sometimes I'll do this. Okay. Electro Aces. That's our team. And that's that. Yay! Easy peasy. So you could do this the same with like heat transfer vinyl or a DTF or whatever. But I did, you know, since a lot of people get heat presses for t-shirt crafts, I did want to go ahead and at least do that demo for y'all. Okay. Now, next thing. Let's do heat transfer vinyl and a DTF sample just to finish it off and try it out with these things. I didn't have any sublimation prints. I was going to try sublimation on here. I try to do as much as I can during one of these review demos just so that y'all can see what you can do. But this is what we're going to do. I have another leftover piece from here. Let me grab a weeding tool. That's the only thing I didn't grab. We're going to weed the heat transfer vinyl and press that. And I have the temperature settings that I need. So each product, not project, but each product that you use is going to have a set temperature and amount of pressure and heat and all that. So if you're doing bulk work, this is where this stuff comes in handy, and you can kind of customize it and make it automatic and all this stuff for the settings. But since I'm doing one of each different thing here, I just went ahead and I'm adjusting each one separately. You probably can't see me. Oh yeah, you can see me. Let me just weed the background of this so that we can do this one. And I have it here. This was, I think, 310 for 10 to 12 seconds or something like that. So let me lower the temp. I want to say it was 305 because this is Caesar Easy Weed. Pretty sure it's like 305 or 310. No big deal. Okay, and then let me weed out a couple. What are we weeding out? The stars from in here just to... So those of you that don't know about heat transfer vinyl, know that the more intricate the design, the longer it takes you to prep it, because you need to take out the negative parts that are not to remain in the design before you can transfer it over. That's the main thing that I think has gotten a lot of people going to sublimation and DTF transfers, because you can just get so many more colors without having to do, you know, one-off layers of each and layering them together. And I'll show you what DTF is in a minute. After we do this one, we'll do the DTF, because DTF calls for about the same temp. I think these, I use Ninja transfers, and I went ahead and put my affiliate link in the description box below as well, where you can upload your own artwork and get them printed onto DTF transfers so that you can then transfer them to whatever, you know, you're making or selling or gifting or whatever. Okay, heat transfer vinyl, or iron-on vinyl, as it is often called. I'm going to turn this off because I need it to cool down. It's way too hot at 343 for sure. So I just turned it off. And I'm going to give it a second or so, just so that the temperature can come down. I'm telling you, this thing heats up so fast, it's pretty ridiculous. Gladys says, I so want this machine now, and I love the color. Put it on your Christmas list. So there is a coupon code that I included. And you know the coupon codes don't last forever. So it's in the description box or in the caption as well if you're watching us on Facebook. Hi to those that are on Facebook. If you see any questions popping up from the Facebook crowd, you can let me know too. Okay, great. There's a coupon code there that when you put that in at checkout, you get $50 off of this one, okay? But if you want to check out the other automatic heat press and the manual one as well, the links are there also, so you can check them out. And this has just been like my little sample canvas bag. Let's go ahead and put this guy here just to try it out. Put it like this. Let's turn this thing back on. And it saves the temperature, the time, the pressure, and all that from the last time you used it. So you can see that. Now when I turned it back on, yep, it's at 320, but I said it's still at 305 set with 70 pounds and 5. It's going down from 320. Good. So see, that's another thing. Even though you cranked it up, it will also bring itself down. So you see how it's dropping by 2 degrees. Now we're at 314. It's going to drop to 312 in a little bit, and it just keeps going down. Yes, we're at 305. I'll take it. Okay, so I'm going to open this up. Let me put my sheet on top. You could also use parchment for this, okay, if you lose your sheet, or maybe you end up with a heat press that didn't come with one, but this one does. And then the time on this is 10 to 12, so I'm going to put 10 seconds. See how I put 10 there? And we're ready. Let's press it. All right. So yeah, we went ahead and put that in the chat for y'all. My affiliate link to the machine where you can get more info on it, and the coupon code to save $50. Okay. We pull our drawer. And then, ta-da! Gorgeous. And I can see it, that it's completely flat and fused. And at the 70 pounds of pressure, which is not that high. So I'm glad that that turned out really, really good. Okay, so this little tiger eye that you see here is a DTF transfer that we did last time when we were testing out another heat press. So let's grab one of those because I have a few more. Little eye. And actually, I'm going to do one of these. I have both. Let's try one and see if we need to adjust the pressure or anything like that, because I mean, obviously it's been working perfectly just how I've been doing it, but know that it's always helpful to have a couple little extras and play it on some sample fabric that's the same or similar to what you're going to be doing, because you may have to fine tune it, right? That's the key of having all these different features that allow you to customize the heat, the pressure, the time, and all that. So you do have to find a sweet spot. So this is the Sprout Squad, the little gardening club that I started. So let's go ahead and just put this one here. And this whole white background is going to be white. So this is a large DTF transfer. The black is kind of like on the white. And so we'll try this. And this is 310. So we'll up the temp 5 more degrees. So Ninja Transfers is 310. And it says medium to high pressure for 13 seconds. So let's adjust this. The time, so the temperature, I set it to the 310. The time, we press the time button. And it goes up to 15. So we're just going to leave it at 10. We're not going to go all the way up to 15. I mean, you could. And then, because it says 13. Well, actually, let me go up just in case, because it says 13 seconds. So, and this is what I mean by fine-tuning it. It's like test it out and see, did it work, did it not work? Okay, so for 15 seconds at 310 I did, and then medium to high pressure. So let's increase this. Since we did go ahead and drop it almost to the lowest setting of the pressure, I'm going to press pressure, and I'm going to go up. It says medium to high. So it goes up to 170 pounds of pressure. So let's do 150. That's on the higher end, right? But not at the highest. So let's try that. So this is here. I'm going to put my sheet on top. And remind me, somebody scream and say, you got to peel it cool. Because you saw with the heat transfer vinyl and the other transfer, the screen print transfer, you peel them hot. I've done thousands of projects. Bags, backpacks, jerseys, t-shirts. And so I'm used to just yanking. So when I do DTF, I start to peel and I'm like, it's not working. I'm like, it's DTF. You need to stop. So let's do it. Okay, it's counting down. Sorry that I have to keep sliding back and forth so y'all can see the screen. So that's going to go 15 seconds. And that DTF transfer called for 13. So we'll wait. So, you know, it's right around there. All right. So here, let's let it cool. And they do sell like these little cooling blocks that you can like basically take on here and rub it off. I wonder if a tailor's clapper would work the same. Don't mind my experiments. I mean, the wood does feel warm. It might be absorbing some of the heat from this. I don't know. Okay. I mean, I'm going to say that the clapper worked. Okay, so that's on there. And then they tell you, like, if you don't want it to have, or I can't remember, is it if you want it to have a shiny finish, press it again? No, if you want it to have a matte finish, press it again. So here's one thing, that if you are going to go in after you've set your time for like the actual transfer, if you want to go in and give it another press, you don't have to wait the full 15 seconds, nor do you need to go in here and adjust it to like 2 or 3 seconds. You can go like this, you press the button, and then you're like, oh no, wait. You can press the go button again, that big R button, and it will stop. Okay, so you can stop and catch yourself if you need to change something, or if you're just, like for example, drying the shirt. You know, sometimes the transfers will tell you make sure to press the garment for 2 to 3 seconds first. So you can just press it and press it again, let it come up, and then get your transfer to put on there. So you can work with the buttons and with the options that you have here to make it work for, you know, what you need to do for your projects. So look at that, nice and smooth, Sprout Squad. And then obviously it would be the same. Oh, good. Brianna says, I use my clappers as cooling blocks. There we go. Great minds think alike. That's awesome. I was like, absorb the heat. I was like, a clapper? I think it'll work. Okay. Mystery Pert is asking, where do you get the heat transfer vinyl, like colors and letters? The heat transfer vinyl, I actually just buy the rolls of the colors that I want to cut, and then I cut them out with my Cricuts, with either the Cricut Joy, which is the baby one, or my Cricut Maker, is how I get those. So here's another one. Look at the amount of detail in this. If you have a design or artwork that you need that is like this, like crazy detailed, look at that. You're not going to be able to do that with just a Cricut and heat transfer vinyl. Okay, that have a million layers. So for DTF, which is direct to film transfers, I put my affiliate link to Ninja Transfers, which I got these from them. So they will put your design, whatever the colors are, they put them on this film, and then you transfer it, and you'll see the detail, because I'm going to give you all a close-up of it after we press it. So same thing, we're going to go 310, medium to high pressure, so we're going to leave it the same, and for 13 seconds, so we set ours to 15 seconds, close enough. So let's turn this guy over here, put it where you want it, put your sheet on it, and you got to make sure that you push the drawer. That's the thing with the automatic heat presses, whether you're using the original or this the Auto Heat Press 2, make sure that it goes all the way, because here it's in, but it doesn't click. You got to hear it click. Like, push it all the way to the back, okay? And then we press go. And when this is done, we're going to clap it again to get it to cool off. Where's my other clapper? Oh, here's the other one. It's a little bit wider. Okay. So pull out your drawer, take the sheet off, and let's cool it with our clapper. I love that. Okay. And then you want to peel it cold. You could even, obviously it would cool faster if you took it off of here, because this is still retaining some of the warmth from being pressed down onto. Okay, so that's good and cool. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that amazing? The amount of detail is wild. So if you have artwork, a lot of you I know have written me, if you have kids that are artists and you want to turn their designs into different things, this is a great option, because you can really, really get all that detail in whatever the artwork is on a DTF transfer. Okay, so everything looks super good. And now you know how this thing acts with all these different types of products. Okay, so let me see again. Yep. So, I mean, that's how it works. The automatic heat press was the same as this, except, remember, the main difference is that it's designed for thicker projects. It weighs a little bit more, I think. It has this screen that goes like this. The other one had the built-in screen up here. And the pressure, that's the main thing, is that you can manually adjust the amount of pressure that you're putting on your projects, which is key, okay? So, I think that's all I have for this one. We did fabric with fabric fusible or cotton woven fusible interfacing. We did light fusible batting. We did the crisp non-woven interfacing, that DuraFuse. We did heat transfer vinyl. DTF transfers, and a screen print transfer that we put on the shirt also. Okay, so even if you don't have a Cricut, I think a heat press is definitely a great investment to add to your crafting space, your studio, especially for those of you that sell. If you make stuff to sell or you make custom items, if you had DTF transfers for like really popular t-shirt fronts, how quick to turn it on, 3 minutes, you get a custom order in, you put the transfer on, you let it cool, peel it off, boom, fold it up, you got another sale. This really, really comes in handy for, like I said, a lot of different things. Bag makers, quilters, people who craft, all that stuff, okay? Shelly says Erica Arndt showed a 10 by 10 clapper on her channel the other day. She has one, and my friend Laura swears by those things too. They're great for quilters. My friend even has one. I think she has a 6.5 by 6.5, or the 6 by 6, and the 12 by 12. American Modern Heritage, which is Chris, and that's where I get these really gorgeous tailor's clappers from. He sells those. He makes them and sells them. It's a big block with a knob on the top, and they're for quilt blocks. So those, for quilters that like to press their stuff like that, comes in really, really handy. So yeah, I'm glad that she showed that on her channel. Awesome. Okay. I think that is it as far as the questions that I'm seeing. I don't see anything else tuning in here. But again, if you're interested in checking out a heat press, getting $50 off of this one, if that's, you know, the one that you want, that's an automatic one, but that has the adjustable pressure feature, definitely check out the links that we included for you in the video description box below. If you want to check out the other heat presses so that maybe you can compare them a little bit, this I will say is the most expensive one of the three big heat presses. Because it has the most capability, obviously, with that. The lowest priced one is the manual heat press, which I also love. But that one, you do have to do all of this and put the pressure down, right? The more you crank that knob to apply pressure, the stronger you got to be able to really clamp it down with the clamshell closure that it has. Then the other one that's in between the manual and the auto heat press 2, which is the one we just reviewed here, the automatic heat press one, it's just the same as this. With the drawer, you put it there, down, but you can't manually adjust the actual pressure. And for those of you that are maybe interested in that, I'm just gonna pop it up real quick so that y'all can see what it looks like. Because very, very similar model. Let me not trip all over everything here. But very similar model, okay? It just doesn't have that screen up top and the pressure setting. And it's a slightly different color too. Don't think that that minty color is a little bit different. This one is like more blue. Can you give them the over the shoulder shot? I just want them to see the color side by side. Or not? Oh, is that what happened with this one? That's all right. I'll just leave it. But anyway, it's like a more minty color, this guy here, than the blue, okay? So check them out. They have different color options. They also come in plain white. If you don't want to go with the colors, that's cool too. Caroline says, too late now. I already bought the auto heat press. No big deal. You know how technology is. Companies are always making different changes and, you know, I say making improvements on stuff. Either one. I mean, all three of them are good. They all work. It just depends. If you're doing a lot of a specific thing that requires more pressure, I would go with maybe the manual or this auto heat press too, because you can adjust the pressure. But everything else, it's applying heat. And as we've tested before here, it really applies a consistent amount of heat to the full 15 by 15 inch space. So that's really, really helpful too. Okay, yeah, Lynette says they have purple too. I told you, I saw a purple one. Awesome. Okay, Diana says, I previously purchased one at one of your last demos, haven't used it yet, but now with fusing interfacing, I'll definitely start using it. A big thanks. I'm so glad. Absolutely use it for fusing interfacing. It helps because, you know, sometimes we go like this and we kind of swipe with the iron and it will, like either the fabric or the interfacing can bubble on you. And with this, you don't have to worry about that, right? As long as you place it down, you can put your protective sheet on top of it. It's going to squish down completely flat with the automatic platens that come down onto it, okay? So that definitely will help with that issue because I know that sometimes happens. It's like I have a bubble right in the middle of my interfacing. It can be super annoying to try and get rid of. Okay, all right, well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Thanks for asking your great questions, and I will see y'all in the next video. I hope you find time to do something crafty this week and enjoy the rest of your week, everybody.